Hi, this is Shauna.
And this is Trisha.
And we're from Two Girls on a Bench, the podcast.
And we are here to say congratulations to Invasion of the Remake for your 200th episode.
Woo, woo, woo.
That is a lot.
That doesn't do anything.
Oh, that's happy birthday. I think it was a congratulations song. Shauna's going to play every instrument we have.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Happy 200th episode. 200th episode.
Happy 200th. Happy 200th episode.
Woo!
Suppose what your faith has said was essentially correct. Suppose there is a universal mind controlling everything, a God willing the behavior of every subatomic particle. Now, every particle has an antiparticle. Its mirror image, its negative side. Maybe this universal mind resides in the mirror image instead of in our universe as we wanted to believe. Maybe he's anti-God, bringing darkness instead of light.
Why weren't we told the truth?
Without the technology to confirm, it would have been another legend.
But he was our prisoner, not yours. We had a responsibility to warn the rest of the world. Only the corrupt are listened to now. They tell us what we want to hear. We believe it to be divine light.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the 200th episode of Invasion of the Remake, chosen by you, the fans, who couldn't make up your minds because it landed at 50% on Twitter.
yeah, it ended in a tie, but technically this one did win because there
was an odd number of votes, so yes. Technically somebody came out one vote ahead of time. So when everybody says your vote doesn't matter,
it really does.
It really did.
It really did, and this one was the one that was technically highlighted as the winner. And this is what we wanted to do more than the other. We want to do both of them, but this one was the one that we were excited about most. So yeah, this is the one we decided to go with.
That's right. Sam Stepanenko, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, and guess what?
What?
The Princess of Snarkness has rejoined us today. Welcome back, Trish Coughlin.
Hey, everybody. I was stuck in some goo in the basement. I am so sorry.
Yeah, that was
I told you to stay away from that.
I know. But what's going to happen? It's like saying, don't push this button. What am I going to do?
I literally said, stay away from the sentient canister of goo.
I know.
I think that the advice for all women should be just stay away from any goo.
I think it should be advice for, it doesn't matter, man or woman, stay away from the goo.
I sense how this episode's going to go. All right, so
it's not usually me who starts it, though, to be fair.
I know, you've learned much, young grasshopper.
We have filled your void as best we could.
Keep it going, Jay. Keep it going.
Yeah, let's get back into the movie.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, of course we are talking about Prince of Darkness. This was chosen by the fans. We had a series of votes that happened on our Twitter feed at Invasion Remake. Thank you for doing that for us, Sam.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun to do.
So yeah, nice. We started out by letting you choose the genre. So we did sci-fis and westerns and dramas and comedies, and comedy and horror kind of were the strong ones, but horror won out. And then we moved into the subgenres, and we had you picking the subgenres. And we had slashers, and we had supernatural, and what else did we have? Monsters.
We had classic monsters.
Actually, it was slashers and serial killers was all kind of under one banner.
Yeah.
And then we had the monsters, and then we had like spooky ghost stuff. Ooh. And I can't remember them all.
Yeah, there were 8 of them. Do you think I remember them all?
Yeah,
yeah.
And
but
then,
we broke it down. I think we did J horror as a separate
and
one.
Yeah, J horror as well, and then Supernatural went out on that one.
Big surprise.
Yep. So was I. Maybe you guys got confused with the TV show that won't end, but hey, we're going to finally
Free Jensen Ackles.
Free Jensen Ackles.
Thank you for bringing that back. Call back to My Bloody Valentine.
And we still stand by that. Come on, Jensen.
We can see the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel is happening for him now. So
nice.
They actually gave away the car at one of the cons recently.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be over.
It's going to be free. Finally.
Once he's free, make sure you give him work. He deserves it.
He deserves it, but he probably won't need it.
Fair enough.
20 years later.
Exactly. But use him well.
Yes, use him well. So yeah, we did Supernatural, and then we got some suggestions from you, and we threw in a few of our own. For Supernatural movies, and we mixed it as kind of half and half. Remakes, things that have been remade, and things we can remake. In the end, we pitted the 2 number ones. Both were chosen by the fan. None of ours choices won.
Nope.
It was Amityville versus Prince of Darkness, and Prince of Darkness just by a hair.
Literally squeaked in by 1 vote. And it's funny because I was sure we were going to be doing Amityville because it was just dominating all of its polls, and then along came Prince of Darkness, and it's like it was neck and neck the entire poll. There was no clear leader.
I will say thank you guys, because that remake of Amityville is not very good. But you do get Ryan Reynolds.
Yes,
you do, but that doesn't excuse enough.
No, because it's not funny, Ryan Reynolds.
No, give me abs, and if they made it like a comedy, it could have been something.
It's kind of one of those stories I know very well. So, and for me, it's always more interesting to do something I don't know very well. And to be honest, like I kept thinking, I'm sure I've seen this movie, but I don't remember any of it. So this could be one of those rare moments where a John Carpenter movie had passed me by. I'm still unsure. I could have been too young, and it might have just been bored, because this is a pretty slow-paced movie.
It is a really slow-paced movie. I remember my first watch of it was, not long after it came out, and I remember going, I don't know if this is a good movie or not. I have new opinions of it now, but we'll get to those.
It's one of those ones that sort of just flows through you. It's there, but it's kind of so much of a mess, and there's no real good focus on it. Like, there's so many bits where I'm like going, who's supposed to be the main character? I'm very confused by it. And the person I'm pretty sure they thought was the main character, I don't know, like, just there's a big blank spot there.
The character development was really, really weak.
Yeah, I felt that too, and there were some, I'd say most of the performances were pretty god-awful. But there's still some really interesting ideas here. This is John Carpenter's first kind of indie project since Halloween. After doing a lot of studio work, he was like, okay, I just kind of want to do my own thing. And along comes some financiers, $3 million budget. Go do what you want. I mean, that takes a lot of faith.
Yes. It does. And I think that this is one of those scripts where the indie budget may have harmed it a lot, because it was a bigger script than the budget would allow. There's
some big ideas here in those themes of this mixing of science and faith.
Yes.
And that's where I think we'll have some fun in playing with this film as a whole, as our ideas of maybe what a remake might look like. And, I mean, this is Carpenter's as well, so he's going to, if he's going to give you your blessing on a remake, take it in new directions.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And really play with it. Don't do a strict remake of it. But, I mean, $3 million is not a lot. for even 1987 for this type of film. So it's a small claustrophobic film. It's the second in the Apocalypse trilogy, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know if that was an on-purpose thing or not, or if people just said, hey, he's done 3 End of the World movies. Okay. Do you know which the first one was?
The Thing.
Of course. And what was the last one?
In the Mouth of Madness?
Yes. That is the trilogy.
Yeah, you know what? I almost would consider They Live in the middle. In there, I think it's more than a trilogy, but
I would say you're at the end of the kind of the result of the apocalypse with Escape from New York and L.A.
yeah.
So I don't know. This is one of those weak little trilogies. I'm like, if you say so.
Yeah, I don't think Carpenter's ever called it his Apocalypse trilogy. I think it's a fan thing that's...
I think so, too. I mean, The Thing was 82, this was 87, and Mouth of Madness was 94, so it's not like they're close together either.
No.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, there's loose connections. Yeah, and it is end of the world stuff, but like, it's weird. In the Mouth of Madness is very end of the world, but also very meta in everything it does, so it's not...
I would say there are similarities between the three. Like, definitely the isolation and claustrophobia of The Thing transfers over to this one. Hey, we still haven't done The Thing, and yet we're kind of talking about it.
Yes.
But the evil creature from outside of Earth kind of is closely related to Prince of Darkness, but
not so much Mouth of Madness.
Well,
Yeah.
that H.P. Lovecraft with the magic book and stuff. We have a magic book in here, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. There's loose connections, but you could argue that through almost all of Carpenter's films.
Sure.
Except for maybe Escape from L.A.
well, and They Live, something from another world taking over. That's really kind of closer to Prince of Darkness as well.
You could make that argument for just about any one of his sort of non-Halloween stuff.
And there are quite a few Carpenter films that, when they happened, got shitty reviews and bombed in the box office. But there's something about John Carpenter, because it comes around 20 years later and now it's a cult movie. And Prince of Darkness is one of those movies. And part of me thinks it's like, man, this really is kind of a boring movie, but that music really keeps you going and keeps that tension happening.
And also, I think the other thing with Carpenter, and I don't think a lot of people think about this, is what kind of gets a lot of these films to cult status is he's really strong, I think, in like an overall theme of a movie. Like, he goes into like deeper stuff. Like, the movie itself may not be great. When you get into the deeper themes of it, they're kind of really all very fascinating.
Yeah, that's what makes this film work. Is it's not the performances or the special effects or even the script itself. It's what he's saying with the film, right? For sure.
Yeah,
no
he had
question.
some really interesting ideas in this film, and it was very different from what was happening at the time in those genres, and that was why he wanted to make a break from studio films, because everything was getting kind of samey.
Yeah, and I mean, this is not a gory horror by any means.
No, there's no real... I mean, there are some frightening moments, but it kind of shies away from the gore. Like, you probably could have released this as a PG film or PG-13.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no nudity. There's no swearing.
No.
There's more nudity in Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more gross than gore.
Yeah, well, and, you know, with the stuff with the insects and that guy who kind of falls apart, that was a really simple but neat effect.
Yes.
There's not a lot. Like, the grossest part was the makeup on what was the character, Kelly, near the end of the film.
Gooey
so
and...
it's a bit gooey and gross, but that was about it. You know?
That is really... Yeah, and there's a few scenes, like there's a scene where the one character stabs himself in the neck.
Yeah.
But again, not horribly graphic.
No, there's not blood spewing everywhere.
Yeah. The spitting of the venom is gross. It's not gory.
Yeah, even when Kelly's arm gets lopped off and her head gets lopped off. Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. Her arm gets lopped off, but it just pops back out. That was wonderful. I thought that was so funny and great.
Yeah. There was some great cutting in this movie where, for a low-budget film, there's some stuff that looked really great.
Yeah, and it still looked really great. I think that scene you're referring to is when her arm goes back. It's like, that was really impressive, actually, even for like 1987.
Yeah,
right?
and
like,
things dripping upward.
Yes.
It's a simple, easy thing to do, but it looks
it's a simple
great.
thing, but yeah, it did. It looked great. I mean, we'd seen the blood spewing up in Nightmare on Elm Street, and I doubt it was even done like that. Like it was literally just probably a camera upside down.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do it, cheapest way to do it.
Because it was close up and then the roof. It could have just been. You could have done this in a box.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it may very well have, right? Mm-hmm. With a budget like that, yeah. Yeah, I think my biggest complaint about this film, to be honest with you, was the age of our university students.
You're right.
Well,
I was trying to figure that out. And
See,
they were averaged to 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
If they're going for a doctorate, they would be late 20s most likely.
Yeah.
yeah, that's sort of, I went for them as like doctoral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jameson
People.
Parker was about 40 at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he's
he
way
looked
too
it.
old.
He did not look like a university student. And there's the one character who looked like he was in his 50s, the sort of Bluto-looking guy with...
Well, not
Dirk
everybody.
Blocker
Yeah.
from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, not every Hitchcock. Yeah, not everybody in this in that community that was brought to this church was part of those university students. They do reference other departments that are coming in to work with
Yes.
them. So that was one of those characters.
Dr. Leahy was also like,
Yeah.
he's been a doctor for a while. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to be young.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but yeah, most of them were grad students or doctorate
Yeah.
students. Most of them didn't feel like it because they were all just too damn old.
Yeah. So I mean, the simple workaround is
Cast younger?
Well, you can either cast younger, which when I was doing my casting is not that easy because I'm not that as familiar
Yeah,
with 20
some of
something actors.
mine-
I got a couple and then I just kind of gave up and I'm like, fuck it, we're gonna just. If they're pulling from different departments and people with
Yeah.
specializations, we're just going to have more of them.
Yeah, I think
I
some of the people are professors.
I'm probably like Carpenter. It's like, it's just easier to cast people I know. For the most part, he did
Yep.
in this movie that he worked with the exception of Peter Jason. This was his first work with Carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
but he would work with him a lot more after
Yes,
that.
he would. He became a Carpenter favorite for sure.
He did.
Yeah. No, and I was able to cast younger because I found a lot of actors that aren't big but are actors I recognize and have enjoyed in other stuff. So
Yeah, so I mean, those are the two workarounds. Really, is like you either cast younger or just ignore it.
and make them not grad students, but something
Yeah,
else.
For the most part, I did hopefully cast younger looking.
And that's the other thing too. Is I mean, if you have to go into your 30s, just make sure they look like they could be playing 20s.
Yeah,
Well-
Jameson Parker did not.
No, and then what's up with the Magnum PI mustache?
Thank
right?
you.
That it was. I would like to say glorious, but it was just weird.
It was just weird. He's one of those people where a mustache does not suit him. But he was also on Simon versus Simon when this was
Yeah.
recorded. Was
Not Simon versus Simon. They
Simon
liked each
and
other.
Simon.
Simon and Simon. Yes.
They
Yes.
were
They were brothers.
Yes, I was thinking of something else. I saw something else where it was something, but
Spy
somebody
versus spy.
yes, Simon and Simon. That's right. But yeah, he was on that, and I think he just recently had a crossover with Magnum PI as well.
Did they do a crossover?
They did, yeah.
So
don't
what
remember
happened?
a
Did they?
crossover.
Oh, so was this like a sci-fi thing where they kissed and Magnum PI's mustache was like actually some
Maybe.
sort of symbiotic creature that lived on his lip and then just went to Jameson Parker's and just like took
Is
over?
that what was in the canister?
That's what's in the canister is the mustache, that glorious mustache.
Must be, yes. Yeah, I don't know. But maybe it was just one of those things where everybody's like, well, the mustache is working for Tom Selleck, so maybe you should grow one.
Did he grow it or that just it doesn't look
it
right?
looked taped on, yeah.
Yeah. There's a special feature on the Scream Factory edition. That's what I had for this. And at one point, there's this guy who does a tour around the spots that are in the film. And at one point, he kind of tapes on this mustache that looks like
yeah,
that.
it's so bad.
But that's part of the fun in this movie because, I mean, oof, there's some rough performances in here. But before we talk about who's in the movie, how would you guys like to hear the trailer?
Yes, please.
Oh, look at you, so polite. At 200 and suddenly you're all polite.
Fuck you.
That's more like it.
Anyone in close proximity has the same dream.
What is it?
A secret that can no longer be kept. It started a month ago.
What started?
A change in the earth. And the sky is power.
There's a weird locking mechanism. Looks like it can only be opened from the inside.
A life form is growing out of prebiotic fluid. It's not winding down into disorder. It's self-organizing. It's becoming something. What?
Hey guys, this is Gerald from AnxZenity, and I just want to thank you for listening to my 200th episode. Oh, wait, no, that's Invasion of the Remake. Congratulations, guys.
All right, that was Prince of Darkness, 1987. Budgeted $3 million, grossed around 14.
That's not
Pretty
a flop
good for
to
the
me.
time.
I don't think it's a flop, but it's
Independently
for an
released.
independent. It probably, I mean, it opened in a large amount of theaters and had a pretty big drop off after a couple of weeks. So,
But it still made its money back and then some.
Sure.
So it was a good investment for the investors.
I think so. IMDb rates it at 6.7 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes is similar territory, 58% critic score and 60% audience score.
And that's right in the ballpark as far as I'm concerned, I think.
Yeah, in some cases
Yeah.
might be a little generous.
Yeah.
Also written, directed, and scored by John Carpenter, who was actually writing as Martin Quatermass. This is in reference to a British television character he really liked, so and TV and movie character. So go look it up. I'm not going to get into that, but I think we talked about that because he did something similar on They Live.
Yeah, I think we did talk about it. My very first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. And, of course, we did talk about that in episode 27. We also talked about Carpenter again in episode 59.
Halloween.
And episode 120.
Assault on Precinct 13.
He is a mainstay of Invasion of the Remake.
Yes, and he's got enough work that they may be anniversary episodes of some sort for a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're talking about all these ones, we're looking at it, the ones that are right for remakes, and then they do remake his work.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about his work, I'm like, I'm still chomping at the bit to do The Fog.
Yes.
Which was on the vote list. Guess we're waiting on that one, and of course we know everybody wants us to do The Thing.
Yes.
So there's plenty more. We're going to be visiting John Carpenter again and again, I'm sure.
Yep.
This movie stars Donald Pleasance as the priest, and of course we talked about him in episode 59.
Halloween.
I don't think we've talked about any other episodes.
No, we have not. I looked really hard to make sure.
Yeah, I felt like we had, but we hadn't.
Well, it's like him playing a priest, as we were discussing before this. I'm like going, has Donald Pleasance played a lot of priests? I don't think he has, but it feels like he has.
It does. It does. It feels like he has.
He does have some stuff that we will talk about eventually, I think, because he's been in some other stuff that has been remade.
So we'll get there someday. Lisa Blount, we've talked about. She plays Catherine Danforth. Actually, before we leave Donald Pleasance here, does anybody remember what the name of the priest actually was?
Priest.
Well, that's what he's credited as priest, but his full name was Father
Loomis.
Father Loomis.
I missed that.
Yeah, of course, named after his Halloween character.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
I wonder if it's a shared universe.
I don't know. Maybe they're related.
They're twin
It's got a
brothers.
Twin brother. Yeah. Lisa Blount, we did talk about in episode 56.
Which we were talking about just before the episode. Blind Fury, episode
Blind-
56.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Rutger Hauer next week because he just passed and we all loved his work. So we're going to kind of push what we had in mind a few weeks, and we're going to talk a little bit about Rutger Hauer and one of his movies instead.
Yes, he deserves an homage for sure.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
His work has shaped a lot of us.
Yes, for sure. We're all big fans. Jameson Parker, best known as playing AJ on Simon and Simon, sporting his mighty porn stash in this movie, played Brian Marsh.
Yeah.
Victor Wong, who played Professor Howard Birack. He's been in a lot of our favorites, Tremors, Big Trouble in Little China, and The Golden Child.
Yes.
Dennis Dunn, who played Walter, was also in Big Trouble in Little China. Yep. He's got this over-the-top performance in Big Trouble in Little China that really works in that film because everybody's kind of doing it. And then I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, that's really all he's got.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if that's all he's got. I think it's sort of like, especially when he's stuck in the closet, he's going for it. I think he was told to, but like, yeah, he's in a comedy, and other people aren't.
Well, I think part of the problem was, and this is a problem with a lot of the characters, is I don't think they really knew what to do with them. Because that character, he doesn't.
There's a lot of characters for
they were there for bodies.
For filling out the room, really. And I don't think they had a lot of rehearsal time. I mean, this movie was shot in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was a failing on his part so much as not having anything to work with.
It's hard to say. To be honest, between this and Big Trouble in Little China, I don't know if I've actually seen him in anything else. So
he doesn't have a big body of work.
He's
still working though.
I'd have to look at other things as comparison, but he was bad in this movie.
There's not much. Everybody's doing something different.
Yeah, most people are they're off doing their thing, and nobody really gives a great performance. I don't think. Even Donald Pleasance feels a little bit asleep, but his asleep is like everybody else's, like them trying.
11.
Yeah, they're giving it 11, and Donald's like, your 11 is my 3.
Yeah. There's only one that I feel is better than this movie, and that's Victor Wong playing the professor. I find him eminently watchable, even with this character. Like, he's doing not bad considering.
Not bad. I felt like he had trouble dialing it back as well. I mean, this movie requires more subtlety that these guys probably didn't have a lot of experience doing. Yeah. There are some actors that certainly are better than others in here. Susan Blanchard was Kelly. She was in episode 27.
We've talked about it already. They Live.
Anne-Marie Howard played Susan Cabot. Honestly, she's perpetually seen as a reporter or newswoman in every movie. If you go through her resume, it's like reporter. So I'm not going to list them because that's what she does. Except in this movie.
She's been pigeonholed.
Yep. She's exercising the diversity of film by perpetually playing a reporter.
Yeah.
Why don't you just be a reporter?
I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, she could just show up in some newsroom and be like, "Oh, you look familiar." Yeah, I'm a reporter. And she just could be.
And just would be. Yeah. Ann Yen plays Elisa. People might remember her from Love or Money. Ken Wright was Lomax. He was in MASH. Dirk Blocker, as we mentioned, he's best known now as Hitchcock in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was also in Darkman and episode 109.
I missed that one.
Poltergeist.
Damn it, I missed one.
You were doing so well.
Yeah. Actually, he wasn't in Darkman. Jesse Lawrence Ferguson, who played Calder, was. My notes got a little mooshed together.
There's a lot in here.
Yeah, there is. Peter Jason made his Carpenter debut, not his film debut. He's one of those guys who's in everything. I think he was actually fairly decent in this movie, but he's an older actor even then.
Yes.
That had a lot more experience, I think, than a lot of this cast did. Yeah. We did talk about him previously in 158. Dreamscape.
Nice.
Also in 145, Arachnophobia.
Oh, damn it.
Yes,
and
now that's
episode 27, They Live.
That's the one I remember as Arachnophobia, because I was looking at his face going,
look at you.
There we go.
There we go. See, I always miss one,
Thank
but
you.
He made up for it on that one. And Robert Grassmere, who played Frank Wyndham, was also in episode 27. They Live. Movie also had Tom Bray, Joanna Merlin, Alice Cooper, we can't forget, and Betty Ramey. Alice, who's been making cameos and small appearances in other movies. I think Hellfest was the most recent one that I can think of. And Suck was really good, too.
Suck is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for some reason, I thought he had made a cameo in Trick or Treat, and I was looking for it, but no.
You were trying to get that one on me.
Yeah, well, no, I thought there was one. I wasn't even trying to get one on you. I was sure he was in Trick or Treat, but no, it's... everybody else, Ozzy and...
Yeah, he seems like he should be in that movie. It's one of those ones where I think it might end up being like a Berenstain Bear type of deal where you're sure he's there, but he's not.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where we could have some fun too. We could just fill out all of those transient characters with aging
Every rock star now?
Aging rock stars and everybody from Carpenter's sort of go-to people. Like, I'd love to have like Kurt Russell
that is still around.
Right?
That would be cool. Yeah.
Like show up there as one of the homeless people. I think that would be a great homage to Carpenter.
Oh my God, what's her name from The Fog? A dark curly hair.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau has to be the lady that stabs the guy.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah,
she'd be awesome at that.
Yeah, because they're all older, and so they don't fit into the regular cast. But I think it'd be fun to have them all show up as cameos in the.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to do it, and then I'm like, nah, you do it with all these transient characters. I think that would be great.
Yeah, they're not committing to like a whole shoot. They're just those few transient.
Yeah, they're probably day shoots.
Yeah,
I mean, Alice wasn't in every shot, so you could tell he was just there probably for a day. Or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even have to put makeup on him now.
Yeah. As I was sitting, exactly. As I was watching, I'm like, well, I'd love to put Kurt in this, but how do you do it? And I'm like, transient.
Yeah. That's how Alice wound up in this movie. His manager wound up having, I think it was the producer of this film. So he's like, hey, can I come down on set? And then a set visit turned into, hey, do you want to play a bum? That turned into, can we use your mic stand gimmick with the bike?
Yeah.
Where you're stabbing somebody with the mic stand? Can we adapt that to the... So that was like his gear on that bike.
Yes, the bike thing. That one, I was like going, oh, that's like, it's a very sort of unceremonious death, but I just loved it. Like just the visual of it where he stabs him and then he just stands there because the bike is holding him up.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. And when that happened, I was getting a little excited. I'm like, okay, this is moving along nice now. And then it slowed down again.
Yeah, I thought we were starting to really ramp up.
Yeah.
We didn't.
And the funny thing is that's the most unnecessary death in the movie. It serves no purpose because at this point they don't know what's going on. This guy doesn't.
And you don't care about that character much because we've only seen him in like one, maybe two scenes.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in the intro with the student scenes, so he just kind of comes out of anywhere. Yeah, I forgot to as well.
Yeah.
I did because of the direction I'm going with it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, like I mean, I'm looking at going. I could cast Martin Starr, but now he's almost 40, right? I think, again, that goes against my complaints. But then I can, you know what? I'm casting Martin Starr there.
I was trying. There was one guy that I just wanted in the role, and he's 40, but I don't care.
Oh yeah, no, that's
I just wanted it. So, but we'll figure a way around it. If they didn't give a shit, neither do I.
Yeah. And you can just change what their role
and he does look younger than he is.
And here's the other bit about it too. When we're talking about like the lack of characterization, here's the funny part too. When I was looking at casting like all my characters, there was a couple where I had to go back and trying to find out who they were because I'm like going, I don't remember who that person was.
I was struggling with names and things like that. I kept going back to the IMDb while I was watching it,
and even at the time that wasn't helping.
Yeah, a lot of times it wasn't helping because they don't look like their picture does now. So it's like I think really that's this guy.
But I mean, most of them are interchangeable in terms of like beyond the sort of the top four. They're really your key ones. The rest of them are they're ensemble casts and they are somewhat interchangeable to a certain extent. So I didn't worry about it too much. But I wanted people in those roles because it is an ensemble cast. And the volume of characters is important in the story.
Yeah, and that's something where you can up body count and whatnot. I want to talk about one of the fundamental flaws in the concept of this movie. You have a priest discovering another dead priest with a little box that never really plays again, but had some scrolls or something in it. I don't know. What was in the little
we
box?
Never know what's in the little box, but because he reads his diary.
Yeah.
That's where he gets all his information
wasn't
from.
in the little box, so I don't understand what the little box that he was clutching and then when he died was. So he finds that and then goes to this Professor Birak to work with him because this thing's appeared in the basement of this church and going, okay, well, I've the faith and I have an idea what this is. Can science prove this as well? And maybe we can find out what's at risk here. But if there's already a dead body, you think this is something evil in the basement. Yeah, let's get some kids from the college to go investigate.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of disposable thing? Like, okay, we'll get these guys because there'll be more kids.
And that was my concern with issue.
I'm like, there's safety issues right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when I was talking to you earlier, I'm like going, when you look at like this, there's this goo, this unknown substance that kind of looks radioactive in the basement of a church, and nobody's wearing a hazmat suit.
And
like,
clearly these two guys are scared of it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you know what was in the box? The key to that room.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, no, I remember now. That's what he was clutching, was the key to the room, because he had to check it every day, right?
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did that church, quote unquote, look more like a high school than a church?
It was pretty big for a church.
Yeah,
it had too many rooms for a church.
Because yes, it was actually shot at USC.
Yeah.
There's exteriors that were a church, and that room with the canister and all the candle, that was a set.
Yeah.
See, you could get away with it if you had it as something like an abbey or a nunnery where people live in there.
There was some interiors were at a church that had stained glass and stuff.
But in the end, the room just felt too Warren-y and not open like a church should.
Yeah. I mean, most all the school shots were also at UFC, but...
Well, ultimately, wouldn't you just maybe have it at a monastery since they're a brotherhood of such and such?
Yeah, you think.
Oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer with the...
I actually was thinking something similar if we remade this, like... I wouldn't mind still keeping it in Southern California because science plays, and there was something on the television early in the movie that Jameson Parker was watching.
New Discovery.
A new discovery. And we just had one recently where they transported some particles into space, so we've literally got a Star Trek transporter now.
Yeah.
People have been doing it across rooms now, but now we've done it from Earth to space with these particles. So,
well, and they're talking about quantum computers too.
Quantum computers and pinhole black holes, that sort of thing. There's some scary stuff being done in science right now that would coincide beautifully with something entering our realm.
Yes. Yes, and there's another issue that I kind of had with it too.
It's somewhat like Event Horizon, though. That would be the thing.
It is. Well, I mean, they announced that it happened on TV, and then you don't worry about it again. Like, you could make that coincidence. There's also, looks like there's an eclipse that's about to happen. Yeah. It's weird that we never see that in the translations with that, because we keep looking at it and then we don't see any
there's
prophecies.
All these sort of portents that you see, but they don't sort of use to connect the dots.
Yeah.
That's one of the flaws with the movie too, is the fact that there's a lot shown to you, but the cast never does the actual connections. So their leaps of logic feel really like leaps.
Yeah, see, like you would have had something about, again, the portents of the eclipse, but you'd also probably maybe have something about how, like, the most vulnerable of society, blah, 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 like have the homeless, have that as a portent that they could discover, because that would make at least something.
They do it late in the film. Unfortunately, it's late in the film where they say it can control simple creatures. That's why we see a lot of the insects being controlled, and the homeless who are mentally unwell, schizophrenic. Yeah. And so they are a little more easier to sway without possession, physical possession, which happens through that green liquid.
Yeah, and those are all things that we need to fix, or that we can fix, right? Is we can sort of tighten it up and have it make more sense.
I mean, he has rules, but, sometimes the rules come too late. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're like, we've already seen the rules happen, and then you're going like, well, we've already kind of given that up, and that part of the story's been gone for so long, we forgot we even saw it. Or
but now through exposition, we're telling our cast so they understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like, that needs to happen differently.
And some of it happens subtly. There is a mention of mirrors and how that could be used to be a doorway.
And that was beautifully done. I have to say that the first time when Kelly picks up the little hand mirror and it's not working for her, I love that.
Yeah. That also is why, like, they equate these controlled people as worker ants, and that would explain why Calder, when he discovers the bigger mirror and he's just staring at it, knowing what's probably on the other side, but also what little shreds of humanity are left. Like, he's in constant conflict while he's staring at it. He's kind of transfixed by it. This emotional gamut he's running through,
and he did that so well. That's to be honest with you, because all the rest of the worker bees, the possessed people, they're kind of dead-faced automatons, right?
Well, and Dr.
But he had this
Leahy,
weird giggle all the way through it. What little humanity he had was he was going nuts, right? Is he was constantly in conflict with it, which is why he stabbed himself as well, right?
Well, and they do establish at one point earlier in the movie, it's the most subtle thing where he has a cross on and he takes it off and puts it in his hand. Like, this is somebody who was faithful before he got there, so this is very traumatic for him.
So yeah, he's struggling against the possession. I wish it had been a little clearer of what was going on with him, but yeah, I kind of got that. You kind of get that in the performance.
Yeah.
And Dr. Leahy as well shows a little bit where he's very upset by it. Like, he's not a full automaton either.
He's strong-willed.
Yeah, initially, I was kind of like, why are you killing some? And then initially, I thought they were just like, only the women get to be possessed.
Right.
And then later on, the dead victims wind up coming back as well. And I'm like, okay, I'm back on board.
Yeah, they just need the body. They don't need the mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the dead
there's no
victims.
mind, yeah.
But yeah, when Susan, the first one to get possessed, the canister opens up and it spews in her mouth, and then later on when she crawls on top of a sleeping Lisa, and I was just like, I've seen porn movies like this. She snowballs it into her mouth.
And I just kept sitting there going, like, I thought Lisa's whole thing would be like going, like, you're very attractive, but I'm not. That's not my game.
Well, after Walter doing the worst lines on her, trying to get like the two Asians in the room are trying to get together, but the one is not having any of it. So I'm like, oh, maybe she is gay. Maybe she's into this. Nope.
No.
She's just all business.
I will put it down to this. The reason she wasn't going for Walter is he was being a dick.
He was a dick. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But it was weird, like, when she goes in the lab and then went to lay down, people were already gathering for a meeting, and they just didn't invite her.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's what bothered me as well.
What the fuck?
Well,
she's been doing all the translations.
Which are pretty fucking important,
and she's
FYI.
sticking around with the rest of you. She should be at this meeting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And she explained a bunch of this to you earlier. She's ultimately the one person who probably knows the most of what might be going on.
She has the most information out of everybody.
Yeah, so we just let her go?
Yeah.
No, fuck that.
Go have a lie down. We'll talk about it, the stuff we don't know anything about while you're...
Oh, yeah. She was just like, I can translate all this. No sweat.
But speaking about, problematic characters and people being a dick, I'm going to bring you back to my first note about Jameson Parker's character.
Okay.
Is our hero a stalker?
He's pretty aggressive, and I actually got the kind of
He
icky
is following
feeling.
her a lot before he even fucking talks to her.
That's interesting because there's an alternate opening to the film on the Scream Factory Blu-ray. It was for the television thing. It condenses the intro, which the opening credits are like 10 minutes long.
Yes.
Which is great. I think it's fantastic. But they condense it down, but they allude to the fact that the whole film might be a dream of his.
Okay.
Which doesn't make the whole stalker
That's
thing any
also
better.
dumb.
He's still obsessed.
Yes.
He's still obsessed, and he keeps stalking her.
Yeah.
And then, like, at a certain point where he kind of, like, negs her at one point, I'm like going, don't go out to dinner. Tell him to fuck off. I'm like going, she should never go out with him unless we change that character.
No, I have to agree. I was... Found
There was no
the
chemistry
whole
there at
thing
all.
uncomfortable because even after the first time they sleep together, which is rather rapid, by the way, he's about to tell her that he loves her already.
Yeah. That's not good.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And how does this further the story in any way?
And then he sits there at one point like,
he's the worst flirt on
what
the
guy
planet.
damaged you? Like, what guy damaged you? I'm like going, guys like you, fucker.
Yeah. Oh, you were
And
all...
how is it relevant to the story?
Yeah, you were all, hey, come hither with the numbers. But you don't like... But you don't like humans?
Just try talking to her like a person.
There
you
is,
dick.
yeah, they were alluding to the fact that she was damaged in some way. That never comes up.
No,
it's...
and
yeah.
she wasn't. Ultimately, she's the least damaged person who knows what has to be done at
It's
the end.
just because you have no game, Brian.
Yes. And ultimately, she's the hero of her story.
Yeah.
Yes.
She should be the focus ultimately. Like Brian is pretty much disposable through most of the movie.
She
if we're honest.
sacrificed herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Well,
Brian, why are we following him? He doesn't do anything. He's not interesting. Like that's part of the main problem with the movie. I don't give a shit about this guy.
Yeah, the priest wrangles all these people and then wound up being
Yeah.
a coward.
Which I mean,
Well, his face is completely broken, though.
yeah.
That's true.
He's uncovered a truth.
Yeah, he's learning about the anti-god. Like the way they describe it is this isn't Lucifer. That's the son of God. Like this is what is the opposite of God on the other side of that mirror.
Yeah.
Well, and he has a
And it's
whole
an alien.
thing.
It's not
an
even...
alien.
And that's the thing. That's the confusion of human beings with faith of this powerful entity that ultimately is just an alien trying to come through, and that's where science and faith are kind of mixing, and I do love that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, and what's wonderful about that too is like, yeah, they like talk about Jesus being like this kind of human like alien, but the other bit about where it totally breaks him at a certain point where he's like, yeah, no, the church just decided to make this about men, and then he like thinks like, yeah, it was about control and power. It made more sense for us to do it this way, and then we could do whatever the fuck we wanted. Like he's realizing this. It must be terrifying to be like, I've supported something that's real fucked up, and that's been my whole life. He's an old man. He's like, this has been my whole life. Can you imagine if you spent your entire life and what you dedicated your entire life to was just a fucking lie? That's gotta kill you.
Yeah. It's not even just a lie. I mean, it's a partial truth because there is a being, right?
Yeah.
It's not about faith anymore. It's like there is an actual being that exists or did exist,
But
right? So
all
it's
these men
truth.
used it for their own
but it was
purposes,
twisted.
and yeah, it's twisted. I helped the twisted part of it.
Yeah.
How messed up.
Yeah, that would absolutely break somebody who was
Even the
pure in
strongest
their faith.
person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just got to be. Oh, that's so sad.
But
Sorry,
he
that's really,
recovers
really
that
sad.
faith at the end. He does step up and recover that faith.
He sort of does.
Yeah.
Because at the end, he's like, I saved everyone. I fixed it. I'm like, going, you didn't dive through the other end and
You
end it
hid
all.
behind this thing for like
You
half
could
an
have
hour.
broken that mirror a lot fucking sooner, dumbass.
Like, what took you so
You
long to
did
find the
jack
axe
shit.
that was back there?
Yes.
Yeah, you did not do hardly anything.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I think there was a timing issue. Like, when the energy from Kathy was flowing through it, I think you would have just thrown the axe and it would have gone to the other side.
Yeah.
So there was a timing issue per se.
But even then, she had to push her through, and then he's taking all the credit.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
I'm a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you hid behind the furnace.
All praise your new god.
Right?
Yeah, I think we change. I think make him a little because he doesn't come across as arrogant anywhere else in the film.
I do want to see the
No.
sequel where he's like the Church of the Axe.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
He's this crazy cult leader.
I would fight against it with like the Church of the Sharknado chainsaw. Just make it a shared universe.
And we're making a brand new movie now.
Well, I mean, Alice always said that there easily could be a sequel to this film.
Oh, for sure.
And it's not constrained by time.
No.
So, and if anything, I think it is kind of timely. They do speak of when this thing surfaced, like as we got closer to this thing after thousands of years, lies were being told as truths and in the media, and it's very similar to
Oh, yeah.
what's going on in the world now.
I'd be like, you know what? I kind of want to set this movie in like 2014 and it gets loose, and that's just what's happening now. Because we know who finally became the candidate at that time.
True evil is orange.
True evil is orange. Yeah, mix it with green. It's gross. But I like what did you think about kind of the dream portion of the program?
Interesting, because one of the things I thought about, another kind of supernatural horror movie was Phantasm.
Yes.
Sci-fi supernatural horror movie. And I kept thinking kind of back to that, where, again, this was a warning. Like, everybody's in the vicinity of this canister, this spot in time, was having the same dream of this figure coming out of the church door, warning them from the year 1999, the far-flung future of 1999.
Yep.
Which would have been 12 years after the present day of this movie. Which tells us where ultimately that figure is revealed, at least through Brian's dream after they've kind of won, is Catherine, who had sacrificed herself to push the evil through.
Yeah, which means kind of at the end, too, you're like going, oh, they didn't change anything.
Yeah. She's in the future being able to project this to this point in time in the past where the brain can receive this signal through dream as a warning.
Yeah, because she's trapped in that dimension.
Yeah,
she's dead.
So ultimately she's the one that has to warn them in the past, but it didn't do anything because she's the one who pushes the evil through. So, I guess in a way she's warning herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think, too, like if you push it back from the past, it's sort of like she's stuck in that dimension for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. You can probably only withstand that amount of evil for so long. Like,
Yeah, you
well,
don't know if she's dead or not, but it's
or just using her body. Her
yeah.
soul might be stuck back there, and that's just her body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think the 1999 was supposed to have a significance because 2,000 years, right?
Right.
Even though it's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole point is 2,000 years was supposed to be when it came into power.
Right.
Or reached full power or whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it was coming through 12, 13 years early, or trying to come through.
I loved that the dream felt like a radio broadcast.
Yes.
Like what
Yeah.
he did, he filmed it, replayed it on a television, and then filmed that to give it the quality it had.
Oh, okay, yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It felt like you were watching like a TV outtake.
But something that's sort of been degraded as well
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah, and it worked to great effect.
Yeah.
I mean, you're shooting film over a digital broadcast.
Well, I love the idea of adding that. It gives a whole meta level to the observability factor. Because the other thing about too that like until it's observed, it comes into no state. So it's sort of kind of funny that like they're observing something that he's made and they're observing it to become into its full state, and
Yes.
that's what he's projecting. But it made me wonder too if it's something that was like a weird feedback loop that by projecting this ending, they were bringing it to being by making it observed.
There's the explanation as Catherine and Brian were on, just walking, casually talking about Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
Is the cat alive or dead in the box? It is neither until you observe it.
Yeah.
So it is Schrodinger's evil.
Yes.
But I mean, by projecting this, are you maybe bringing it into being by observing it in the way you want it to be observed?
Yeah, and that's probably may even be what the whole Schrodinger's cat was supposed to reference, right? I think you may have hit what he was trying to say in the first place.
Yeah. And I like the idea of like horror and quantum mechanics.
Yes.
You know, it's a neat idea. And then since this, I mean, Stephen Hawking has had a lot more theories and things. And then the things we've done as humans that probably weren't even conceived of in 87. Like, it was just science fiction then.
Yeah, no, it's quite cool. But I love the idea when you think about it, like an afterlife and all this stuff where like time doesn't happen. And then they do, at least in The Good Place, Jeremy Bearimy, how time flows in the afterlife where it goes back and forth and up and down and around. And you think about it, like maybe that's what like the subatomic level is where any pure energy can kind of exist. And that's where you'd be. And that's where it would everything get real fucked up.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Yeah.
It'd be fascinating. Like it's just a wild idea.
Invasion of the Remake. You guys, 200 episodes. That's crazy. Congratulations. So many congratulations. You've done such great work. And I am so proud to call you guys friends. I can't wait to hear what else you do. I'm kind of looking forward to the idea of somebody coming out with a remake of Invasion of the Remake. How deep would that be? Anyway, this is Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss. And good on you for making it to 200.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's workshop some new ideas to remake this movie. I want to make it less claustrophobic if we're running around California. Like, unfortunately, science and horror now has been done a few times. I mean, we've seen the doorway and of the veil, if you will, being thinned in Stranger Things.
Yes.
And we've seen it we talked about in Event Horizon and Phantasm. Like, we've seen this idea a few times. Annihilation most recently. Absolutely. Good pull. And I'm not sure how much we want to do that because now it's like, well, now it's becoming a trope.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should still have that mix of science and faith for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of the anti-God as an alien, or God, even God as an alien, right? I think that's the core precept of the film is that that God does exist, but he's not who you think he is. But do we make him a pure alien and do away with the extra dimensional stuff? Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that question too. Right. You know, and would be a mirror big enough to pull something like that through?
Yeah.
That's another thing. I mean, you know how he did that liquid effect? That was liquid mercury, that he drained from their crane.
Yeah, and
to do that, I don't recommend anybody doing that.
No.
Very dangerous to have that reach through the mirror effect from the other side. And yeah, never ever do that.
Then
they put it back in the crane.
Yeah,
and so it would work right when they return the rented equipment.
It worked.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean,
It works, but let's just not do that. There's
the
other ways to
necessity
do
of
it now.
invention. Yeah. Now we can do it with special effects and After
CG.
Effects.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, I went, and this is how my casting was, because I'm like going, you know what? Some of this movie, and it was because of the poor acting choices, it was so funny to me. I went into like horror comedy territory with it.
And you could. Like, if you want to play on some of the sillier aspects of this movie, and that's kind of why some of these things become cult movies, is here's this serious movie that doesn't quite come off of that way because the performances are so bad.
And it doesn't
And if you
quite
lean
work.
into it, you can go horror comedy. And that might be a different way to go, because we've seen it done seriously quite a few times, and we've seen it done, Stranger Things, probably the most fun version of this idea.
Yeah, I mean, and that one verges on horror comedy a lot. I wanted moodier because it is such a slow-paced film. Like, my director and everything was all about the moody rather than...
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, the kills should be a little more thrilling, and when they come back, they did it low budget. He stabs himself in the neck, Calder does, and then it's just taped up. I'm like, well, if you're dead, why would you care?
Well, I
if
thought
anybody
it's because
saw
they
it.
taped it up while they were trying to save
Oh, maybe
him.
they did that, yeah.
That's what I thought happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that we can do that will look even cooler when that guy falls apart and all the bugs are coming out of his sleeves.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really good.
That
but I
looked
think
good then.
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I mean, that's a scene I want to keep.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think
and I've
that-
cast on that basis because I just want it to be funny while he does it.
That technically was the special effects guy. They're like,
Nice.
I like your look. Can you act?
Oh, nice.
Which, isn't as simple as putting him in your little movie. It's like, okay, well...
You have dialogue.
If you're going to have dialogue and stuff, you have to go back to the union and say why this guy is better than an actual actor for that part.
Well, what did they do with Tom Savini?
Well, he wasn't available that day. I don't know.
No, but I mean, like, he was doing effects stuff, and
Well, he
he's
probably
acting.
has some. He probably is part of the actors union, I would think.
Yeah,
but,
he's probably a member.
I just know he did both, so I was like, I wonder if he did the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know his story, but I'm sure he would have had to join the union at some point.
Don't forget, he started appearing in films he was working on right at the beginning.
Yeah.
When he was working with Romero, he was in them.
And keeping in mind that it was all indie stuff and probably, not so much, it was probably shot outside the union.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's probably, and then I think is like to get in the union, you have to be in a film or something. It's a weird thing. Where it's a chicken and egg scenario that I've never quite wrapped my head around.
But yeah, I don't think the rules were as stringent when Tom first.
It was fairly clear he wasn't an actor.
Yeah. Well, we kind of question whether any of these actors were actors.
That is very true. That is very, very
Okay,
true.
well, I mean, I had this idea because California has a super collider, and which coincides with some of the things that are happening in science right now.
And I was looking at quantum computers and AI because I was thinking, why is this quantum computer just constantly making evil choices?
That's a neat idea, too.
Because they're like going, well, how is this happening? And it's sort of like it's affecting it from where it is.
Yeah, going back to Buffy, there's a Buffy episode where they do that, right? Where a demon comes through the computer and starts manipulating people through the computer.
Well, there's
a few other movies like that, isn't there?
There's what if you use the super colliders there to thin the veil, and then the computer is one of those manipulable things. It's not just simple human beings. There's no real intelligence in a computer other than when we put in it. So, like with the quantum computer, that could be another tool for this beast as he's reaching from the other side, just with
you could
the
have
powers
so
that
much
can
fun
cross
with
the
that,
veil.
actually, because you wanted to make it bigger, right? So he can be using the internet, the World Wide Web, to start manipulating people, so you can start seeing the effects of this all over the world, right? But with the core story happening,
And it's
I
weird.
think you could have him, but I think should have him sort of start as like that quantum computer that's just isolated at the university. Just starts out like that. Because they're because you think in most places they keep that computer without having a large connection to the internet because they A, don't know what's going to happen, and B, just to really protect their research. But somebody comes in with Wi-Fi, he hops over.
Yeah.
And that's how you
I also think we should have a little bit more of the ghost part of this too, because there's a point where it's it got colder in the room, but we don't see any of that per se. It's a feeling I have. I don't feel right. And that's all we really get.
Yeah.
So I'd like to build that up a little bit more too, where we have a balance of science and supernatural.
Yes.
all
Ooh,
at the
yeah,
same
like
time.
your hairs on your arms go up, but they're like, oh, that could be like the static electricity from like.
Yeah, simple things like that where they can have alternate things and then maybe things falling off the wall and as it builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, like-
from
yeah.
simple things that you might be able to explain away
Yeah.
to it's getting a little funky in here.
But you'd also have an explanation of like why sometimes you're like, you know, when you're screaming at a screen, you're like going, "That's huge! You should get out of there." But like something small like that, where like you could totally explain it away, considering what you're working on, and it's
And you'd
these
think they'd
people don't
have
seem so
the
dumb.
equipment to measure electrostatic and things like
Yeah.
that.
But at the same time, there's not what they're looking for. Right?
They don't know what they're looking
Exactly.
for.
They
Why
don't
wouldn't
know.
you have everything
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a scientific approach. You got to prove and disprove everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Well, that's why I like they had the one note where he's like going, "That spike could be anything. You can't tell anybody until we figure out what it is."
Oh, yeah. No,
I love that idea.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you can make that more clearly part of the investigation, not just this, whatever we end up deciding it is in this church or monastery, but also the fact that there's rumors of spirits in here because this priest has been there for almost his entire life, the one that passes away,
Yeah.
right? Is he a presence there? Is he trying to warn them as well?
Yeah.
Ooh.
There was
I
a
like that.
part in there I didn't like, is when the possessed transients were surrounding the building and they actually said, well, we should call the police. Oh, well, what will they do? What will they believe? It's still a hostile force outside your building.
Yeah.
They will at least get rid of that.
They'll try to disperse them. Yeah.
If they're loitering, they will move them on. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, so, I mean, this isn't Assault on Precinct 13 where you don't have anything to call out because all the equipment's
Ooh.
been packed away. This is,
Or-
like, that is something you can use.
Yes.
So
You
why
could-
aren't you using it?
And you could use it too, where it's like, going, yeah, we've called the police, and then like there might be like some cop with PTSD or something like that, and then all of a sudden there's like a couple of cops in the group. They're like, oh no, we're fucked now.
They obviously
alternatively-
did that because they couldn't afford to hire any more extras. But
Yeah.
like realistically, like here's a great scene where you can have like like the police battling these possessed soldiers, these soldier ants.
True.
Yeah, you
But
could do
having
that.
one or two converts would be also kind of cool.
Yeah, well, and as if a police officer falls, then it can be resurrected as another soldier.
Yeah.
But I was thinking too of how you could have a few of them just convert, because it'd be like going, no, we're thinking because they're homeless, they're more fragile. But that doesn't mean there aren't some people with regular jobs with mental illnesses. Like just a small little note about that. Like just have some of them.
Yeah, it should be
Alternatively-
slowly building as the power is extending outward.
Yeah. Alternatively, we've talked about how it infiltrates the internet and the technology. It takes the call and doesn't send anybody.
Ooh.
There's that, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a simple way of explaining why the police never come.
Yeah, it can just
Yeah.
infect signals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so
but I do like...
But I like your idea of the sort of this grand battle between the possessed and
Well, I think inevitably, even if the call doesn't go out, it would start attracting attention.
Yeah.
As the pull to what's available to this power, because it's pulling it to its source.
Yeah.
So as it's branching out and getting further out, that's why we saw more and more transients near the end.
Yeah.
I think that would be a more interesting way of doing it is having a police car follow them. So it blocks the signal, but the police still end up showing up because the cops going, well, where are all these people going?
Yeah,
Right.
It would attract attention, and I mean, you would think families of the people in this building who aren't getting contacted might be making their own phone calls. If you're putting it in California, there's lots of street people. There's unfortunately,
And definitely have somebody be like, my son said he'd call me later tonight. Like it's not like him to miss calling me or just lie about
this
it.
is where they are. Like he told me, this is where they're doing their experiments.
Yeah. Because, I like the idea of a conflict outside the monastery itself. I love that. Right? But I think that I think it can happen organically, right? And still establish that that our being, whatever it is also very much in control of what's happening.
And that would be why it would take a lot longer for any kind of police response. If it's a monastery, it's probably not going to be in the middle of the fucking city.
No.
Most likely not.
Yeah. Which we can get back to that isolation a bit
Oh
too.
yeah, too. And you could have like it's just some cops that are used to just dealing with maybe the town drunk or like they're like just small town.
And I
cops.
love the idea of seeing these homeless people climbing up a hill or something towards this monastery. That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah, you have very much that sort of added little Romero feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh. Right. Bringing another horror master.
Love
That'd
it.
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, liking that.
Okay. Well, I think we got some of the science.
Yeah. Oh, and you
playing
can add
in there.
some more wild animals other than ants too.
Oh, sure. That kind of bugged me. That it was just insects.
I think as he gets more powerful, the more the
Yeah.
larger and more
The more
threatening these.
you
and
start
being in
with
the middle
small.
of nowhere, you'd have just some bigger creatures. That'd be
I
awesome.
did like when they had crucified the pigeon as something
That
that
was
was
so
angelic looking.
creepy.
It was very creepy imagery.
Oh, that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean,
So what if you had like these dark flying creatures that were trying to take out the pigeons or whatever? Maybe bats were attacking pigeons.
Yeah. Well,
you know.
pigeons are part of the dove family, so like they are supposedly kind of probably the more angelic of which. So you could have like ravens and crows attacking.
Yeah, and I mean, there's symbology that's happening there in a real visceral way.
yes. Yeah, no, I'm liking the idea of having the creatures. I mean, yeah, you go from bugs to snakes and birds to coyotes and cougars and stuff, that kind of thing that you
Even
would see.
deer come showing up near the end. Deer come out because at that point, when you have animals that big, you're stuck in that place because deer will mess you up.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of like natural life that could certainly become engaging. It'd be really interesting to see the mixed in with transients and homeless people. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, because they're, for the most part, these things are just trying to keep them in. For the most part, they're not trying to get in themselves.
No. They make no move. They just don't want anybody leaving.
They don't want anybody leaving, and that's when they get violent.
Yes, and I'd want to keep that, right? And that's sort of plays to the whole idea of our being blocking the cell phone signal and saying, yeah, no, we'll dispatch somebody right away, and then that's where it ends. But it's still organically we get these cops and National Guards showing up eventually to...
And it should be...
And you could also have it like some of the creatures could be helping take out some of the cell phone towers. Like you could have it like that.
There already could be maybe a military presence. Maybe some of these scientists are military and have military connections.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, there probably would be hazmat suits and everything else. There'd probably be a lot bigger investigation than just some college. They're probably bringing in the best minds, and they're being recruited.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Actually, and you know how we were discussing earlier about why these people weren't young enough? That gets past that whole problem now.
Yeah, fucks up my casting, but yeah, it does.
Well, I mean...
but the best minds can still be young, so you're still good.
Well, and some
I've
of them
got
can
one.
be college students. Like our translator can still be a college student because
Yeah,
you're not
absolutely.
necessarily going to have a premier translator working in government.
Or they just need the closest person because they got to get on this now.
Exactly. It's sometimes a case of necessity, and this is the best person for the job in the vicinity. So, you are going to go to the college for some of these people.
Yeah.
So you can have some young. And, I mean, as we always remind our listeners, we come up with our casting before we come up with our ideas.
Yes.
We don't
Yeah,
sit in a room and workshop this before we talk to you. We do it live and
We organically
Yeah.
come to it.
Because that's where we get our best ideas.
That's
We
right.
can't do it in the vacuum. It's sort of like it's with the ants. We have to do it together.
Yeah, we all have our little ideas, and then hopefully we can piece it together.
Exactly.
It comes out better together because there's some stuff where it's like,
Together.
I hadn't considered that, and then that's even awesomer.
Yeah.
Or somebody has an idea and then somebody else feeds off of it to create something even better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I'm starting to like how this is building, and it feels a little
know.
grander, and yet still maintaining that
claustrophobic.
claustrophobia.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because our main characters are still stuck in the building.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
And
think
it'll still be a bigger building if it's a monastery as well, because it's also a living quarter.
And it solves our multi-room problem.
it
which
does, yeah,
definitely
because
was a problem.
you need the multiple rooms.
And they're going to need the space for the equipment.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And I loved the look. It's unfortunate because the rest of the building didn't look like the cathedral part in the basement. That looked really grand and really cool because it was a set they built, but the rest of the building was, there's a cross on the wall.
Yeah. And you could do something really cool with the monastery too, because every monastery has its own chapel, right? So, and the chapel will have an altar. I think that this room is directly below the altar in the chapel.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting when they stopped trying to get Walter when he hid in the confessional, because he was trapped in there. He wasn't risking what they're doing, and until they were done what they were doing, that's when they went after him.
The drones stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped doing anything because Kelly was transforming. So, and that all her energy was going into the transformation. I think that they were all sort of there as guards, but they weren't to do anything until the transformation was complete.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
You have to make
they're
that really
just
clear.
guards.
That's what happens, right? Because I think you infer it but they don't really tell you.
Their function is mainly to protect the host.
Make
and
sure that it goes through.
That host is ushering in the evil. Like, I guess that is the prince.
Absorbing it all.
To pull in daddy.
Yeah.
Because it says father, so yeah.
But the only problem I had is I'm like going, Walter, you've got at least try from your side to like take some of this stuff down. You'll go faster.
Instead of telling them really bad jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Just
the most
work on the
awkward
wall,
human.
dude.
But that what did bother me that he was observing, he was giving them updates, right?
Yeah.
But he should have been helping from his end instead of waiting to the last possible minute, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that happened that he said there that really bothered me in the sense that he said it, but then you didn't see what he said was happening, right? He said that her bone structure was changing.
Yes, yeah.
And she just looked like a gored up human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So she needs to change.
Yeah, when you think back to an earlier film and The Thing and what they did there, I'm like, well, aren't we seeing some cracking and movement
like
of that?
I'd love to see her knees go back the wrong way, but that's how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, we should see a transformation into something pretty grotesque.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there were
not gory necessarily, but something that's definitely not human.
Yeah, definitely not human. This using what the parts of a human to make something new.
Yeah.
Like the bug in like Men in Black, where it looks wrong, but it still looks like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like it can gain mass, but it can change what it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's bringing a little body horror from our friend Cronenberg. Yeah, like let's make this a mashup of all of our favorite horror guys from the 80s.
Now, the ultimate question is, we only got to see the hand of whatever this evil anti-god was kind of poke through before everything gets pushed in as Catherine pushes in Kelly into the mirror. So would you want to show it?
No.
Show more or even show less?
I'd show the same or less. You could show it as a shadow, but at most, I think leaving it to people's imagination is far scarier.
Yeah, I have this idea of like, we get a perception of what it is on the other side, but the other side is not super perceptible to human standards. So we have this warped look of what's there when we're seeing suggestions of form, or at least parts of it of form.
Yeah.
But we can't really make out what it is because human perception can't make out what we're seeing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well. And again, your imagination is always far more powerful than what they can show you on film.
If you're going for the whole, again, another sciencey thing, is like going, our eyes can't pick up the right wavelength to make out what it is.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Jay was suggesting as well. Yeah, no, I think if you see the hand, it should be constantly changing, right? So
because it's something that's adapting from another universe. Like it's, if it's matter and antimatter, like it would have to adapt its form to even exist in this reality. So even crossing over would take a lot of energy and a lot of time.
No, I'd love it if it turned into like animal paws and a human hand, and then like it just keeps changing.
And a tentacle. And
then, tentacles are, of all things, are really tropey, but
a
that's
hoof, and then a claw, and then like a bird foot,
and then a hand, and then back, and then just like an amorphous mass, right? Like it could be anything.
Yeah, if it's trying to step through this thing, this mirror or whatever, it would have to adapt and try to change its form to not only exist in the world, but probably fit through the door.
Yeah. I think that would be really interesting. And it would also really help draw out that moment, because she could be struggling to hold on to this thing that keeps changing on her. Mm-hmm. Right? So she's holding on to it with a hand that's no longer meant for the body it's on, because it's changed.
Yeah.
Right, and then you've got this hand that she's trying to grasp that's getting larger and smaller and slipperier. I think until you finally get sort of like a human type hand that she can start drawing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you need a lot of energy, so it's feeding off all the equipment they've brought, and through the energy that's in broadcasting, like cell phone towers and Wi-Fi, and even the power grid of the city itself.
And
the human energy around all those transients, that's what they're there for.
Kelly's being like slowly eaten up by trying to do this. Mm-hmm. Like that body is not holding up as well as it should.
Yeah, and you can have the transients like...
Oh, that'd be cool. It's already kind of readapted itself to something stronger to be able to pull its father through the door to begin with, and then the sheer energy, it's tearing that form apart.
Yes. Right. Yeah, and you can even extend that further as she's going through her transformation. You can see it affecting our army outside, right?
Yeah.
Where they are becoming weaker, and as this battle's going on outside, they're starting to collapse just from not having all the energy drawn from them.
Oh, I had an idea.
Ooh.
Oh, you have an idea?
I had an idea. Okay. What if one physical form isn't enough? So when the possession is ready by the sentient liquid that was gestating, and then is taken host into Kelly, and that form is changing and not holding up, that's when the transients they're not just pulled for protection, but then that's when they have their materials to make even a bigger body, something stronger to be able to pull her father.
Liking that a lot. And you sort of gave me another idea as you were talking about that.
Body horror.
Yes. As she's trying to draw it through by grabbing onto the hand starts to ooze and it starts combined with her. Right? Yeah. So it's becoming her.
Yeah.
Right. And
Cronenberg.
Yes. Right. I think that. Yeah.
Oh, we're going body horror. All right.
Oh yeah. And like you say, the transients, like you'll see like a hodgepodge of an arm here, and like maybe a face and a torso. Maybe it's all coming together.
Okay.
In the grossest way.
I love our final scene.
Yes. And that is our final scene. We're not going with that whole him going to touch the mirror again.
No.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
Hokey.
Yeah.
But mind you, now that you say that the original beginning was it could be a dream, I get why that's there now.
Yes.
I would actually like to play on the insects at the end rather than do play on the dream aspect of it. I mean, I still like the broadcast. I think that's pretty cool. But what if like we got this one thing skidding around and we have something still exist into that? And then maybe it skitters out of the mirror and then Brian steps on it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That added just a little bit of lightness right at the end.
Yeah. After a pretty intense moment.
Yeah.
It is the jump scare that it really isn't scary.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Or you could have it like it's a bug that's kind of crawling on the top of the thing, and you think it's like, oh my god, and then he grabs it. It's just a bug, and he squashes it, and he's like going, I don't know.
Just in case.
Just in case you were coming through the mirror and weren't on the mirror, I don't know what the fuck is happening. We're just going to do this now.
Yes.
Yeah.
When in doubt, kill it.
And maybe we should make some more focus on the mirror as well. Like,
that's the other thing too. The lack of mirrors bothered me when they were really so focused on it. There should have been more.
It looked really boring and flat. When you got something like Oculus that played so well just against an object.
Yeah.
They take so much time to say how important this canister was, and it kind of looks cool, and the room looks cool. But then they concentrate on the mirrors. The mirrors are kind of boring. There's this book that doesn't really matter.
No.
Well, it does, and it should.
It should.
Because that's where the story comes out, right?
You don't give us enough.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes out like you said, a lot of information comes way too late in the film. So I think it should play more and early on.
Yeah.
Right. I think that the translation is what brings the rest of them there.
Yeah, between the prophecies and the equations within the book, because it's not just it is this book literally is mixing the science of what's happening with the mythos of what's happening, and that's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think that should be your first act is them translating.
The first act should all
to get
be,
there.
all about discovering and the wonder of what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second act is when things start building in tension, and then we already know what our third act's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, the first act of the original movie was quite drawn out, and it was just them gathering everybody, right?
Well, and it's like over the credits. That should have been the first act.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that the credits run like 10 minutes.
I actually really enjoyed that.
I did too.
But yeah, I think that you could have our translator be a church translator. Like she already works for the church, and that's how our priest, Father Loomis, comes to the decision to involve Birak. He's like, okay, well, we've got a translation, but now we need the science part of it because and here's the story, and that's why they gather this team is because they now know they need the science, right? And you can get a lot of your backstory as he's gathering the team that way to fill in those gaps where we're getting information too late in the film.
This is Tony from the podcast Flicks Xrayed, and I just wanted to say a special shout out to the guys at Invasion of the Remake podcast, Sam and Jay. Congratulations on hitting 200 episodes. 200 awesome episodes, might I add. You have a great show. Keep up the great work, and keep making me laugh.
Cool. All right.
Yay.
I think we are ready for some casting here, folks.
We are.
Are we? I think so.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been a while, Trish. Would you like to go first?
Sure. I can start off. But yeah, again, I will note that I did do this as horror comedy, so this will be very much reflected.
That's all right. I'm down for this.
Nice. Okay. So as I didn't remember it was Priest Loomis, but as the priest, I have Rene Gooby. He was Father Bra from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Okay.
So I thought he would be good. Professor Barack, I actually brought back Dennis Dunn because I'm like, he's probably about the right age now to do that character.
I hope he's learned a thing or two.
Exactly. And I mean, I miss Victor Wong so much. If I could have cast him, I would have.
Yeah.
Because I just really enjoyed him. And so B. Mason, I went a different direction with this because of her work on, God, I can't remember the name of the show, but she saw demons. But it was Susan Wokoma, because I just enjoyed her in that TV show. It was like a blend of horror comedy. And then I put C. Danforth as Matt Berry. And she and him are both in a new BBC series called Year of the Rabbit, which is quite good. For Walter, I had Adam Scott, which I told you about before. They did like the greatest television event of the year where he played Jameson Parker in the Simon & Simon shot-for-shot remake of the opening credits.
Yeah, we talked about it before the show.
Kelly, I put Fred Awanek because I was going for something very weird. I think it would be really gross and cool to see what looked like a guy have a big pregnancy belly. Susan, I had Rachel Bloom. Lisa, Constance Wu. Lomax, Julian Barrett. Mullins, Alan Richson, who is the young Scully on the Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode.
Nice. I almost did that.
Nice. Calder is William Jackson Harper from The Good Place. Dr. Leahy, I actually made Dirk Blocker.
Nice.
Wintham, the guy who gets eaten by bugs, Noel Fielding, because I was like going, there's just so much goth stuff I could do with Noel Fielding as the guy who gets eaten by bugs.
I feel like we need a goth,
yeah. I'm with you on that one.
I love that.
Considering I didn't cast that character anyhow, so that was really well.
That's what it was like. And then Etchison, Jay Baruchel.
Okay, I'll go with that because I didn't cast Etchison. So. Yeah.
And then the schizo, just Alice Cooper with no makeup. So
yeah, well, they were trying to make him look 75 years old, and now we are.
There.
So we're fine. He looks even better now.
Exactly. And I didn't do my director this time because I'm like going, I don't know who, because I was like I was up in the air on who I want to do, but I did say John Carpenter should still do the score.
Yes.
You know what? I forgot to write. I had such a big cast. I forgot my director myself.
I did not forget my director.
Okay, well then we have a director.
We have a director. Yeah.
There we go.
Yay!
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. I could go with Carpenter. Who directed that new Halloween?
Oh, I can't remember his name now.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that guy.
Okay. There we go.
Who did the one Hatchet movies?
Adam Green.
Adam Green. He might be able to do what I want.
Yeah, he's good with horror comedy.
Yeah.
Adam Green would be good.
Okay, so Adam Green for me.
All right. I'll go next and I'll let Sam take us out because he's probably got the most pure cast as far as what the original film idea was. I wanted to go actual college level, and I think I only have... it was so hard for me. I'm like, I have one person in their 20s.
I know. I don't think I have any.
Okay. Actually, I want to start out with my transients because I want to just make that a cameo fest of people from the original film and rock stars. So we talked about bringing in some of the surviving members of the film to be able to put into the transient roles. I think that's great. And other Carpenter mainstays. But I have like Alice Cooper, Marilyn Manson, Flea, Robin Cherry Moon Zombie, which probably won't happen considering how Carpenter feels about Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah.
Joan Jett, Dave Grohl, Maynard James Keenan, Trent Reznor, Tom Waits, Iggy Pop, and Henry Rollins, because I have to.
Sweet.
Henry fucking Rollins.
Henry fucking Rollins.
Yeah, that is my big cast of cool.
I just have images of what I want Dave Grohl to do as a transient right now. It's like, I think he could pull off some of the goofy shit I'm thinking about.
There you go.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, really, if it's going to be in Southern California.
You might as well.
You could pull in. They could literally be the people they are.
I know. You like everybody just show up in whatever you're in.
Okay, but the rock stars don't stop there. For my priest, I went with Hugh Dillon.
Oh,
Canadian mainstay,
I'm jealous of that
hardcore
casting.
logo,
I love
and I thought he'd be pretty cool in that role.
He'd make a great priest, I think.
Yeah. For my Catherine, I went with Jane Levy from Evil Dead, the remake, and Don't
Nice.
Breathe. For my Professor Birac, I went with Ken Watanabe.
Oh, yes.
For my Brian, I went with Gabriel Chavarria from War of the Planet of the Apes and the Purge television series.
Ooh.
I think he's a good lead, and nobody says he has to be a white guy. For Kelly, this is where the only 20-something person I had, I went with Taylor Momsen.
Nice.
If you can get her.
If you can get her, she's not really doing a lot of acting these days, but
But I
that
think
would
she
be cool.
But
to watch her transform.
But yeah, cool.
She does kind
rock
of look
star.
like an alien anyhow, so.
Yeah.
In a good way, but.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
For Susan, I went with Allison Williams from Get Out. And that would probably go well with your cast because she can do comedy pretty well,
for sure.
too. David Harbour as Mullins.
Nice. I love it. I love
Domhnall Gleeson as Frank.
it. Okay.
Yeah. David Morse is Dr. Leahy. We just did David Morse from the Getaway episode,
Yes.
and I mean, he'd be a towering dude, but I think he'd be a good Leahy. He's of an older age, so he'd be older and wiser.
Well, this is a horror movie. Being older doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, I went with Veronica, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Nago. She was in Star Wars The Last Jedi and Bright.
Oh, nice.
She was Rose's sister in Star Wars The Last Jedi, the one that dies early in the film.
Oh.
Jesse T. Usher as Calder. He's currently in The Boys, and he's the new Shaft.
Nice.
He's really good, by the way, in The Boys.
You're going to love... He really is. I love that show. I'm about halfway.
Me too.
Awesome.
For my Walter, this is where I'm like, fuck it, he's 40, I don't care. But he's not Asian. I didn't go with an Asian. I went with
sure.
Kumail Nanjiani.
I love it. I love it.
I'm like, instead of trying to be funny, let's actually put somebody who's funny.
Be somebody who's actually funny. And you know what? I think part of what Walter should be is somebody who doesn't quite fit in with the group. And I think Kumail could nail that sort of a little bit socially isolated, but also so funny.
And I did like that as multicultural the cast, but it's not representing enough cultures in my mind. So
Absolutely.
That's why I threw a few more in there. And let's see, Brenton Thwaites as... Oh, I did cast Matt Atchison. Go figure. Skinny but fit dude. He is Robin on Titans.
Yes.
Cool.
And I think I'm done.
Yay!
And actually, you got more cast than I did. I didn't cast Frank. I missed him somehow. But I have... Actually, I have some duplicates with one of you.
Oh.
For my priest, I went with Keith David.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Yes, I was saying, I was going. We have so much fun because he could actually reference They Live. He's like,
Yeah.
more aliens.
You know, to lean into some of the Carpenter cultness of it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's
You know what you can
that's why I
lean
went with
into
him, yeah.
with it? It's like it's the same character. He just went into the priest.
That's what I was thinking.
later.
That's what I was thinking is that he is that character.
Loomis stopped being a psychologist and became a priest. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's exactly what I was thinking is lean into that and make him the same character.
Universe building with
fun.
Carpenter movies. Let's do it.
For my Birac, I did go with Dennis Dunn.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it made sense, right? Because we'd throw it back and yeah, he doesn't do a lot.
Based on his performance, I was not going to do that.
I was going to give him another chance. And
I was hopeful.
yeah. For my Brian Marsh, I went with Caleb Landry Jones, who plays the son in 3 billboards outside Ebbing. So good in that.
Good.
I thought he'd bring a sort of a gravitas to it that would be really interesting. For my Catherine Danforth, I actually unintentionally tied back to last week's episode, believe it or not. I went with Zoe Deutsch, who's in Zombieland 2. She's starting as sort of an upcoming actress. She's Leah Thompson's daughter.
Oh,
Really?
Yes.
all right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't think we'd throw back to Howard the Duck so quickly. but
And
there you
he
go.
did deny, but
Nice.
yeah, I cast her, and then I was looking at it sort of like, oh, wait a minute, there's a connection.
Isn't she married to the Howard the Duck director?
No, she's not.
Don't think so, at
Or,
least.
I thought I was trying to remember who Leah Thompson was married to. I thought it was
mar-
Howard the Duck related.
She's married to somebody, but yeah, I don't know.
She's married to somebody.
Somebody in the industry. Is what
I was like going, yeah, I'm guessing
And it
that.
could be you.
yeah. No,
Married to
it's somebody
somebody.
in the
Sure.
industry. Yeah. Let me finish my fucking thought, okay?
I'm so glad to be back.
Quit picking on the dumb guy. For my Walter, I'm also connected to a Good Place actor, Manny Jacinto.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought that he'd be really good. Again, he kind of doesn't quite fit into the crowd, but still a lot of fun.
I mean, this is a tough one to cast.
Yeah.
You're not going to knock it out of the ballpark every time.
Well, we're building on what we think the character should be rather than what they came out as.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for my Kelly, I went with Naomi Scott, who played Jasmine in Aladdin.
Ooh, nice.
For my Susan, I went with Lily Reinhart, who plays Betty in Riverdale.
Cool.
For my Lisa, our translator, I went with Letitia Wright from the Black Panther.
Nice.
She can also do comedy.
She did come up across my desk.
Yeah. For my Dr. Leahy, guess what? I went with Dirk Blocker too.
There you go.
Yay!
When you guys said it, I'm like, it was so obvious.
Yeah. For my Calder, I went with Bashir Y. Gray. He is in Empire. He's amazing. Really great actor. And I thought he could bring some fun to the character because, I mean, he plays a pretty serious role in that. But I could see him being sort of a mixed up kind of rapper scientist guy, not really sure who he wants to be. He's like a scientist who wants a rap career kind of guy.
I love it.
Yeah, so I went with him.
People aren't just one thing.
Yeah.
It's fast. That's the way it
That's
is.
right. For my Mullins, I went with Jack Rayner. He looks like a young Chris Pratt, not like Chris Pratt's old, but he looks like a younger Chris Pratt. He was in a movie that I love and I've watched multiple times, Sing Street. He plays the older brother in that.
Nice.
And he's starting to get roles in North American films now, and he's really quite good. And then for my Etchison, I went with Moises Arias from Ender's Game. He's kind of creepy looking in a really neat way, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to have him play that character.
Cool.
And then for my director, I went with Oz Perkins because I really loved what he did with I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, because that movie was all about mood. And I think that this movie needs more of that.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So yeah, there's a director who can really capture mood without showing you a lot.
You can really get into it. And actually, that would even work with mine. Because have you seen Dead and Breakfast?
Yes.
You would know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, again, it's just a throwback to another classic horror icon because he's the son of legendary Anthony Perkins, right? So yeah, I thought, let's get the pedigree happening here.
I had a final thought here with the sacrifice of Catherine when she jumps in, but it doesn't feel natural with her. Like she doesn't play as much as she should as the female lead.
Yeah.
Oh, that has to be changed up. We have to establish that she's a really strong character.
And I didn't like. There seemed to be a change in the priest. At one point, he closes the door on these people so he can get away. His cowardice starts to show. So. Follow me here because this might be a real downer ending. But so what if he's hiding in that room? He comes out. He pushes her pushes Catherine into this thing. They fall in the mirror, and then he destroys the mirror.
I like it.
And it makes
really
him look really fucking lecherous. And then your final moment, instead of touching a mirror or whatever, is somebody clocking his ass.
Yeah, and you know what? I love it because I didn't get the other thing too. Is I want Catherine to be struggling with Kelly at a certain point. Like it's got to be bigger than that. But yeah, if he pushes them both because he doesn't know what to do, I love that idea.
It does diminish her heroic sacrifice a little bit, but just a little bit. But it is, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, falls victim to his cowardice. Like he does it just trying to get away, and then they see the mirror has changed back, and then maybe the mirror gets shattered accidentally as somebody's it's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And it shatters because they've pushed him into the mirror.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It was like, you go get them back, and the mirror's already changed
somebody
back.
sees them, and like somebody's trying to grab Catherine or Kelly just because like. They don't know what's happening. They know something's happened to Kelly, but they still think they can save her. And that's when that smashing happens.
Yeah. To just make that loss even more tragic.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yes, it does diminish her a little bit, but you don't really see much build-up there either. Like, we keep talking about this weird past that never gets developed.
Which we're losing.
Yeah, if we're ditching it anyway.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of want it... I was hoping... When she did it, I thought there was like more of a history with her and Kelly. Like, I thought they had a friendship prior to that. I think that's what they were getting at, why it was hard for her, but they never really explored that at all.
Yeah, no, and I think that for a lot of these people, I think it's the first time they've met. Because the way we've established it is they're sort of picking and choosing sort of the best in their fields, or best available in their fields to study this, because we've established that it's far bigger than student level. Right?
Yeah, and what's the thing is, like, if they're the best in their fields and like they might be coming from the same universe, they would have met each other.
Yeah.
That's the other part. That would have happened. So I don't get why they're complete strangers. So
Well,
in some instances,
Yeah.
not all.
Yeah, because the different disciplines. I mean, when you're looking at languages versus physics, right? And then mathematics versus other types of science.
But
right?
you might come across each other at university events.
You know each other from maybe by sight or casual acquaintance.
You'd be
You don't-
acquaintances.
but you're not friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like you'd know each other a bit.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, it's nice to see you again. Right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing, but not so much, hey, you want to go out for beers after?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the,
You never know. They might cross discipline. There might be the odd person who's like going, yeah, I know, I'll hang out with one of the English teachers in arts. Like, you know what? You might have two people where they were in different disciplines, but they were like roommates first year and sort of just kept in touch, and then they both became professors. It's rare. It might happen.
I think that you could have a lot more sort of dynamics happening there as they're setting up. They're getting to know each other again, or getting to know each other for the first time. You can have a little bit of both of those, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have a little tweak of it at one point where the first woman who gets possessed, is it Susan? I think. And
Yep,
the
Susan.
one guy, Wyndham's like going, yeah, he knows that she's married. He knows that she's the radiologist. Like, he knows her, but then they kind of do nothing with it.
Yeah, there's some people who know each other, and this is the problem. We don't get enough time to get a sense of the characters and the relationships between these characters.
No, and
I mean, and at an hour 40, it's fairly lengthy as it is, but with the slow pacing of it, there's certainly
you can
room
speed it
for
up
it.
and do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think that you need to develop some sort of relationship, because some of the decisions they have to make at the end of the film should be harder. Like that decision when they push Lisa and Susan out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's not an easy decision to make.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying we even have to use a mirror. Like, this could be something different. I mean, what other reflective surfaces can we use?
Turned off computer monitor.
Well, I mean, it does feel like technology does kind of go away near the end of this movie.
Ooh. Cell phone, like, the reflective surface of your cell phone, and somebody's like, that could be the small mirror.
That could easily be the small mirror. Yeah.
And maybe it's a struggle. It's like, okay, well, something's coming through, but it doesn't necessarily have to come through one spot either. Where, as I said, maybe we're having the body horror and joining in. Maybe this body is sprouting arms all over the place because that's all the bodies. And part of the preparation is to fill this place with mirrors.
Oh, you know what? Even better.
And so because we're pulling in all these different things. So when you're talking claws and hands and tentacles, one's coming out of each of these things, and it will ultimately would coalesce into something else.
And the body horror would really feed into that as well.
You could even have a lot of fun with this, because I was thinking is they've set up labs, right? They're going to have big monitors, like.
Granted, if you got a big creature, it's going to take more than a push through something.
Yes.
So
Yeah, but you could have it, because we've already established that it's using technology and the computer network and the internet and stuff,
and that's where it's getting the power to.
Yeah, so
create
it's coming
these
through
portals.
cell phones. It's coming through. Rather than having the mirrors, it's coming through the cell phones in the officers' pockets when they're in the battle up front.
Ooh,
right.
Oh, that makes my balls hurt just thinking about it.
Right? But yeah, it's manifesting everywhere. Outside, and then
so the solution, rather, instead of pushing somebody through and getting a sacrifice or whatever, would probably have to be an EMP of some sort to get rid of the power source. I mean, granted, a lot of that power is being focused through Kelly,
and
so that creature needs to be taken care of in some way, shape, or form. But to keep whatever is on the other side from crossing out could be killing this technology. So it now you're limited by reflective surfaces again.
Yeah. Well, what if? I mean, this is just a big what if. But what if Catherine going through creates an energy surge that just sort of, so it's not her going through and pushing them through and Kelly through. It's the fact that these beings that were not supposed to be in that other, in our alternate dimension or go through the veil have create that energy surge. Right, just because an energy transfer is an energy transfer, right? And this being's already put a bunch of its energy.
Well, yeah, and we know through the book there's a lot of careful equations they are working with to make this happen.
And that's how she
it appears supernatural to us, but there's a lot of equations in there, and to throw this other factor
It's
in
an equation
there,
out of balance.
Yeah, it's an equation out of balance.
Yeah, because pushing it through, you've cut him off from his conduit, right? Which is Kelly. Right, so that conduit gets cut off.
It's putting matter into antimatter or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's this big explosion.
Yeah. Yeah, so that sort of solves your electronics problem by she's the battery.
Yeah,
right?
that's why a crossing is such a slow process. I mean, it's like Windows 95 loading, right? On a Wi-Fi screen, or it's there's a lot happening to make this happen, and that's why the process is really slow.
Yeah, and I mean with the stuff that's coming out of like cell phones and other stuff too, is not going to be large portions of it.
No,
right? Like so they're small tentacles.
Yeah, they're limited by whatever
the size of the screen and the distance from the battery.
Yeah, goddamn you people with your 50 plus TV screens.
But yeah, it could be like something like a huge monitor like that, right?
Yeah,
yeah. But I think that's kind of brings in the technology aspect of it, and then also solves the problem you just mentioned there is like how you can't just break the one monitor or break the one mirror, right? So that would be like a win-win, right? And then the TV gets destroyed because they don't want it coming back through, right?
EMP plus a sonic pulse.
Yeah.
Everything shuts down and they're in the dark.
So you have a much bigger climax at this end of this thing. It goes from claustrophobic to pretty big.
Yeah, and you know what? You could even have like, you want to go bigger, right? Is you could start seeing them like little tentacles showing up in other people's phones, like in Japan and England, and like it's actually starting to manifest in other countries, right? And then all of a sudden, all of these things just power off, right?
Oh, how do you stop it globally?
Yeah, right. By cutting, and that's the thing.
Or that's your downer ending. You don't.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's a careful equation as well. Yeah. So if something else goes through,
and there's
not part of that equation.
Yeah, there's a power.
It'd have to be fairly large at the central hub.
Yeah, and if that power backlash just breaks.
And it's
everything.
not just Callie per se. I mean, maybe that is the bigger part, but maybe this creature that Kelly is has adapted itself to the world. It took 2,000 years to make this or more.
Well, and that is the fact that what it's occupying is something from this world.
Yeah.
Putting it into the other one could mess up.
Yeah, it's something from the other world that's already adapted to this world. So crossing back over
it took it hours and hours to get through the first time, and now we're just shoving it through.
Yeah, and it took thousands of years to even be able to coalesce into something that could exist in this world.
And then you have a human being going through on top of that, right? Yeah, no, and I love the idea because we still get our apocalypse. All technology is destroyed.
Well, see, I like the idea too, where like you say tentacles and stuff, they're coming through, but then they disappear, and I'm like going, I just want something to show up on like a screen, like just a little cockroach that wasn't there before and just waddles off. I want some of it to come through. It has to come through.
Yeah, exactly.
The pulses. Yeah, the threat should always be there. But that ultimate pulse that stops the evil, it's not what stops the evil. It's the effect of what happened when they stopped it.
Yes,
I mean it's not permanently stopped, but it probably wouldn't be able to coalesce for a few more hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yes, but I just love the idea of that ultimately downer ending, whereas we beat it, but did we? And what happened to all of our technology? It all has to be rebuilt because like anything that was connected to the internet or to Wi-Fi or to cell networks is destroyed.
Yeah, but there could be something like some of the stuff. Like somebody had their computer unhooked and turned off. It's fine.
Yeah.
So we're not completely done.
No, exactly. But it still gives you that sense because what terrifies people nowadays more than anything else in the world? Not
Losing
being
their
connected. Right?
I would feel very sorry for those guys who'd be up in the space station at that time.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Having lost all technology.
Yeah.
And what if whatever affected it didn't affect that?
Yeah.
So if they were still in contact with Earth at the time, maybe that's your conduit, and now you've got like this thing crawling out in the space station.
Ooh.
I think the idea.
There's your sequel.
Lots of little pieces of it floating around all over the place.
There's still lots of places, so it's not stopped, but it is hindered.
Yeah, the further away it was when the pulse happens, little pieces get snipped off instead of pulled back and become, like you said, bugs and
worker ants.
Yeah.
And it has to start again.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're all over the Earth, so like they have to coalesce together. So it's the whole thing is like if these pieces find each other, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, that's your sequel.
Yes, but it sets it up for
if there is
another story, if there is one. Yeah.
Oh, come on, we have an amazing movie. There's going to be a sequel.
Of course we do.
We're just that good.
But yeah, I like the bringing the technology into the ending now as well, right?
Yeah.
And then we don't have to worry about why are these mirrors present? Why are these mirrors being set up? Right? Because the technology is already there because of their study. Kind of a win-win.
200 episodes. 200 episodes? How did 200 episodes? Wow! You guys must be great to have 200 episodes. I know that I've listened to at least 100 episodes. I have some catching up to do to hear 200 episodes. I don't even have 100 episodes. I don't think I'm even at 75 episodes. But you guys are so great. You know how great you are? You're just so great. You're so great. And let me tell you something. I'm great too. This is Sean from What Does It Matter? And you know that I'm about as great as things that, well, what does it matter? It doesn't matter. Who cares? What does it really matter? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. What does it matter? It doesn't. But Invasion of the Remake matters. 200 episodes. Congratulations. And I did this message without a single expletive. How the fuck do you like that? Love you guys.
Well, I've got some bad news for you guys. I hate to tell you this, and it's gut-wrenching, but there's so many more remakes out there. There's so many more. We're 200 episodes in, and we're not going anywhere.
Like I said, you could lock us up in a basement, and we would never be without remakes.
So it's bittersweet because we're not going anywhere, but we're not going anywhere because they're not stopping making these things. So we're not going anywhere.
Them thousands of ideas.
Yes. Yeah, we're kind of might be to blame for some of this.
We might be. We might actually be.
Some of the stuff that we've get out there, they haven't done yet, quite frankly, and they should get on it.
For as often as we take them to task for the remakes they've done, we keep giving them new ideas for more.
And they don't do them. So that's not us.
That is on us. Yeah, I feel partially responsible. Only partially.
We're going to be okay. If they take our advice, it'll be fine.
Is we're going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you have liked our almost 4 years now of content, 200 absolutely free episodes, actually 200 plus technically, because there are a lot of those little specials that we don't number, but we've given you 4 years of free content. All you can do is help spread the invasion, spread it around, tell your friends and your family and put notices on your dog as you're walking it, and so it's like advertising Invasion of the Remake.
Please bear in mind, we're not green goo, we're good stuff.
Yeah.
So putting us out there isn't going to end the world.
Maybe.
Shh. They don't know that.
I don't know that either. So spread the word. Give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast device and a short review. It helps get people's
earballs
on the show. And, of course, you can follow us on our social media at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com.
Yes, you can.
That's us. And, of course, we are in a ton of different places. You know how to find us, but tell your friends where to find us. We have our link tree over on our social media sites for some of the best places to find us. But if you're not sure, of course, we're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry, Libsyn, Radio Public, Radio.com app, and so many more. We're even on frickin' YouTube. Yeah. Nailed it. We drop every Tuesday on your favorite podcast devices and every Thursday on YouTube.
Yes, we do. We have a really loyal YouTube following now. I mean, I have to say that there's a lot of
that's a growing audience for as much as I dissuade you from finding us there. You keep going there, and that is great. We see some big numbers on some of those episodes, and some tiny ones on others. But
certainly that they're usually our most vocal on terms of feedback and sharing their thoughts on our episodes. Yeah, and we appreciate that.
I certainly do. It's fun to interact with you. Sam and I kind of split between these social media platforms. Sam's doing Instagram and Twitter, and I do Facebook and YouTube when I can. And
those times spent on the other one, YouTube, a very different forum. A very different group of people.
It is.
I can't say I've been there.
Yeah, YouTube, very unusual place.
It is, but I really like that large size hot tub. That's I might want to get one of those.
I might be coming over on days other than Sundays now then, Jay.
There you go. Welcome to the jacuzzi episode of Invasion of the Remake.
It's my landlord's going, why did you rimp up your yard?
I think you're going to lose your damage deposit.
We can hear all the bubbles in the background.
I'm never leaving this.
So what I really like about this movie.
That's going into an interesting place.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you just need a jet massaging that really hard tension in your
Sometimes those jets do go into interesting places.
And, sometimes it does help. Feeling we're old, we get a little aches and pains. It'll help us.
It does. Therapy tub.
Yeah. So it's therapy. That's what it is.
That's right.
Yes, that's it.
We don't need to justify it. Hot tubs are awesome.
Yeah. We have to thank a lot of people, and I can't name them all. There's so many of you that have helped us get to 200 podcasters, listeners, and guests we've had over the years. Thank you all so much for being a part of the invasion. And of course, Trish, who's been here from day one. Thank you.
And the hiatus because of lots of things.
Yeah, no, you've had some issues, but thank you for being here with us.
Glad to be here for
and of
this
course, Jeff McNair, who I tried to get back for 200, but didn't quite happen. He's really busy, but he, of course, always supports the show. And thank you, Sam, for filling in that spot.
Yes.
Way back in episode 30.
That was my first official episode. That was my first one as a
regular host.
Yeah, and I mean that's 171 episodes, including my first guest appearance. So that's a lot of freaking episodes.
Yeah, and we've made a lot of new friends in the podcast community along the way. Some of you've heard from in this episode. Thank you all for that support, and you will hear from some more of our friends in October when we once again participate in all the horror months.
It's going to be so huge this year.
Yeah.
It is so big. I'm already stressed out.
Oh no!
Because at this point I'm the sole organizer. So
yeah, and it's creeping on up.
Yes,
I'm already curating.
Yes, well,
that's just our content. Sam's got all those other shows that he's
pieces.
Putting together.
Yes, so assuming that everybody remains in, we have 31 podcasts this year.
31 podcasts over 31 days in the month of October. You can follow that at AllTheHorror18 on Twitter, and also using the hashtag AllTheHorror.
Yes, you can. Yes, the Twitter account. Yeah, we try to be interactive there, but it's right now the energy is being focused on getting these.
Yeah, as we're getting closer, our own activity is getting a little less over there because so much of your time's being put into that.
Yeah, but everybody's coming on board, and it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be a lot of fun content there. And unlike last year, you're going to see multiple episodes some days.
So, it's a convention for your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, that was episode 200. John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness from 1987. Thanks for joining us.
Helping us choose.
And helping us choose.
Yes.
We'll do, maybe, I liked how that went. We'll try to bring other polls to you for special occasions down the road. And we'll see how those go as well. Hopefully it's not. But I think we'll have a rule. If we do another poll, maybe for episode 250 or 225 or whatever, whenever that happens, we'll take whatever won last time out of the mix.
That's a good idea, yes.
So,
that is definitely a good idea.
So just mix it up. All right. I've been Jason.
I am always Sam.
And I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here.
But this is not a dream. You are seeing what is actually occurring.